Wow!
Unlike many sitcoms of its era, Taxi focused on a group of blue-collar workers who, despite having aspirations of bigger and better careers, were never really destined to be anything other than what they were: cab drivers. The series won 18 Emmy Awards during its 5-year run and will always be remembered not only for its clever writing, but also for some truly quirky characters and sometimes bittersweet storylines. The series was inspired by a magazine article. When the Mary Tyler Moore Show ended its successful 7-season run, co-creator James L. Brooks formed a new production company, the John Charles Walters Company, with David Davis, Ed Weinberger, and Stan Daniels, all writer-producers whom he had worked with on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Brooks got the idea to create an ensemble show set at a New York cab company after reading Night Shifting for the Hip Fleet, an article about a Greenwich Village taxi garage that ran in New York Magazine in 1975. Tony Danza was discovered in the boxing ring. In the mid-1970s, tough Tony Danza was a professional boxer who trained at Gleason's gym in Brooklyn. Gleason's was home to many famous fighters and the go-to place for filmmakers and authors who were researching the sport. That was how producers Larry Gordon and Joel Silver happened to be ringside one night when Danza knocked out Billy Perez, and they invited him to audition for Walter Hill's The Warriors, which they were producing. He was just about ready to ink a deal with them too, when James L. Brooks called and asked him to read for the part of a boxer on his upcoming sitcom, Taxi. Tony Banter started out as Phil Ryan. The original boxer character Brooks had in mind was an Irish heavyweight named Phil Ryan, but he liked Danza's audition enough to tailor the part to the actor. So Phil Ryan became Phil Banter, an Italian middleweight. Danza was impressed when 3 days into rehearsal he got the news that his character's name had been changed to Tony Banter. "They must really like me," he said at the time. That little ego boost didn't last long. Producer Ed Weinberger revealed to Danza that they had changed the name because they had a feeling that he wouldn't remember to answer to Phil. The producers wanted Judd Hirsch, but Hirsch didn't want a series. Judd Hirsch was a primarily stage actor who had done a few films. In 1977, he guest starred on 2 episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show spin-off Rhoda and decided that he didn't enjoy working on television. His agent contacted him shortly after his appearance, however, and informed him that the Taxi producers really wanted him for the role of Alex Rieger on their new show. Hirsch read the pilot script and worried that the show would probably last at least 3 seasons, and he didn't want to be committed that long. He wanted to be free to do plays and perhaps films. He instructed his agent to make the producers an offer they wouldn't accept, but to his surprise, they accepted it. They also put his name over the title of the show, which surprised him, and he worried that it would cause resentment from his castmates on the set. Danny DeVito trash-talked his way into the role of Louis De Palma. When casting director Joel Thurm asked Danny DeVito to audition for Taxi, both Michael Douglas and Jack Nicholson warned DeVito against doing television because it uses you up. Sure, they could say that. They were big rich movie stars, DeVito later recalled during an interview for the Archive of American Television. But DeVito loved the Taxi pilot script and decided to go into full Louis mode for his audition. DeVito walked into the conference room where Brooks, Weinberger, Daniels and Davies were sitting, waiting expectantly. He took one step, then threw the script onto the coffee table and bellowed, "One thing I want to know before we start. Who wrote this shit?" Luckily, his outrageousness paid off. The producers not only laughed at his opening gambit, they proceeded to guffaw at his every remark that followed. Mandy Patinkin auditioned for the role of Alex. While Judd Hirsch was still undecided, Broadway and film star Mandy Patinkin was a contender for the role of Alex Riga. In fact, when Tony Danza auditioned, he read with Patinkin, not Hirsch. Patinkin later showed up in a memorable guest spot in the episode Memories of Cab 804. Bobby Wheeler was supposed to be black. The character of aspiring actor Bobby Wheeler was originally written with a black actor in mind. Blazing Saddles' Cleavon Little was in serious contention for the part, and it eventually came down to him and Jeff Conaway. Conaway had a foot in the door with the production team by way of a guest appearance on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He'd also recently co-starred in the film Grease, though it hadn't yet been released. The series creators had Conaway in mind for the role of naive John Burns. But Conaway thought he was better suited for the Bobby character and campaigned for the part. He was eventually given a reading with Judd Hirsch, which ultimately won him the role.